So this past weekend I went to Capital Edge Paintball Park, it's about 15 miles that way, to talk to Dylan Boyum. Dylan plays for Sacramento DMG. DMG plays pro in the NXL. And I kind of want to know like what it's like to play pro. What's the difference between these pro teams and those things? So without further ado, Dylan Boyum.
So that's Dylan. I talked about him a minute ago. We're going to have, I talked about him, but we're going to have him do, I don't know, introduce himself. So I want to know who you are, who you've played for, and stuff like that.
My name is Dylan Boyum. I'm 28 years old. I play for Sacramento DMG. I've always been a NorCal guy. Been playing paintball for about 12 years now competitively. My first tournament was 2007 World Cup, D3 Expo, with Rodents.
Yeah, I played with him. That's how I know him. We played paintball.
Yeah.
Sort of for a while. I don't know.
Anyway,
Rodents.
Oh yeah, that was my first taste of the national circuit. Been hooked ever since, man.
Divisional for a long time. What other, now you're playing for this DMG pro team. That's like the whole reason we're really talking here.
Yep.
What other teams you played for? Like what semi-pro teams or whatever?
In the past I played for, of course, the DMG camp. Before that I played for Oakland Fuzion. That was the main team. We competed in the PSP. Played Division 1 with Oakland Fuzion for about a year and a half or so, until the team disbanded. I ended up taking a break after that for about 3 years. And my brother actually, he bought a house up in Sacramento, so he got back into paintball. He was grinding. He was doing the Sacramento Supreme thing, but those guys kind of started going to college, doing their thing, kind of getting out of paintball, and my brother still had that passion, so he ended up trying out for DMG. Got on the team, started in the low Division 3, playing UPL, working his way up, man, and I was living out there with him. I ended up starting to rent a room from him while I was still working in the oil refineries, and he's just grinding, man, and it kind of brought paintball back into my life. And he tried to get me to come out a couple times, and I was like, man, I don't know, it's a big commitment. I don't know if I want to get back into it. When I was away from paintball, I kind of tried to keep my distance, and then one weekend I went out with our roommate to Davis actually, and had so much fun, man. Got the hook, got the itch back. Next weekend got all the gear together. My brother got me all set up, came out Capital Edge every weekend after that. I think
so you played with DMG on maybe one of the lower division teams for a little bit, and then went pretty much straight to semi-pro, which makes sense because, I mean, you played, higher division, so you're experienced. One of the reasons, one of the main reasons I wanted to do this was because, I'm checking the audio. Because the question that I get asked often is, like, what's the difference between pro and divisionals or even semi-pro? That's something that, like, I can kind of answer, but I can't. I've never played semi-pro or pro, so I have no idea how to correctly answer that question. And you've played semi-pro on multiple teams, and now, after all these years, finally pro. So what's the difference? I don't know. What was the first big change you noticed from going semi-pro to pro? We're gonna say
beat of the game, man. You play against these teams like Dynasty, Houston Heat, Russian Legion, Impact, man, they just, it's automatic for them. Kind of similar to if you think about like an MMA kind of thing, you see those guys doing kicks, drills, everything, people can go learn a kick or whatnot, get that fundamental down, but when they get in a fight, it's different. It's kind of the same thing as paintball. You can do your drills and everything, but when you step onto the pro field, it's automatic for a lot of those players. Yeah. There's no thinking, there's no waiting. They know every situation. If this guy makes this move, I'm going to counter and go here. So no matter where you're at in the field and how many bodies are alive, you got challenges ahead of you. This is no easy cakewalk. If you're on a 3-on-2, it's not a guaranteed win. These guys, they're fast, they're smart, they're aggressive, their shots on point. It's one of the main things. In divisional, you get a lot of teams that are kind of a little lopsided. They have the ringers, and then they have the players that aren't necessarily at the same level as the top guys on their team. In pro, everybody on that field is going to be on point. The paint placement, it seems like, man, when you're gunfighting with some of these guys, they're in your brain. They already know where you're trying to come out at. That's definitely one of the biggest differences I realized. Like in divisional, a player might run down the field crazy and catch you by surprise sometimes. And pro, it kind of happens, but it's almost a little more predictable because they play a smart way. They're not going to take unnecessary risks.
Speed of the game is faster. I mean, we also, individual skill is obviously better, but that speed is faster, so that like decision making. What is DMG doing to increase their decision making skills so that you can, make those decisions really quick and you're not like sitting in your bunker thinking, what do I do? You just instinctually know. What do you guys do to make those better, the decisions better?
I think one thing DMG does really well out is a lot of the teams I played in the past, we kind of go to practice. We go 5 on the box, come up with a game plan, try to figure it out right there. DMG, we treat practice like tournaments. We come in here, Josh Hallberg, one of our coaches, Terry Fong, Shane Howe has got a good voice in this camp, and we try to get that game plan on paper, figure out what we're going to do before we go out on the point, even in practice. I think that benefits us a lot. That helps us out a lot because when we go out there, we're trying to accomplish a certain goal. It might be a certain player getting to a certain bunker to lock this side down so we can attack on the other side. Situations like that, I think, helps a lot. If you practice like you play in a tournament, it's going to benefit you a lot.
Yeah, so you guys are running... you're practicing, but you have an objective when you're practicing. It's not just like, hey, let's go practice. It's like, hey, this point we're going to... try to get here first or communicate better or whatever. So there's like a focus on practice. Yeah, for sure. I think every paintball team could do that. I feel like, they just kind of go play paintball. So that's, a good difference between pro. That's the preparedness seems a little bit different maybe then, which is, I don't know, obvious, I guess. You guys are pro.
Yeah, if you're not preparing before a tournament, you're going to have a good time. That's going to be a rough weekend.
Preparedness, one of the things that I think is crazy is maybe the level, the difference in teams. Like say you guys, right? You're like middle-ish pack, or like say Thunder. I guess they're middle-ish pack. What's the difference between playing these like middle-ish pack and lower division teams? Not lower division, but like lower ranked teams comparatively to Impact or Russian Legion? Because I feel like they're like robots almost, like they just like that decision making. They're just very good at that decision making. Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, you tell me. I don't know.
Well, one thing with those top teams, man, they got players that have been in the pro league playing at the top division for 8, 10, sometimes 12 years, all across every 5 player that's playing that entire point. So I mean, those guys are already automatic on a lot of things, and when you're playing against teams that have prepared for so long on so many different layouts against so many different teams, they've seen all the looks. They know exactly what to do out there. So, I mean, when you're playing them, you got to be super on point. You can't be making any mistakes against those teams because they'll make you pay for it real quick.
It's that experience.
To be able to practice them mostly before every single tournament. Dave Baines, obviously the coach of Impact. We are at his home field. This is where everyone born and bred, Capital Edge Paintball Park.
There it is.
So yeah, we've been able to play them for a couple years. Before when I was on the semi-pro team, they let us get some spins against them and get that experience. But now that I'm on the pro team, I get thrown into it, so I get to play them all weekend. And they like to come out here on Friday just by themselves. They run their drills, they get their shots on point, they get an idea of how they want to play it, and then we come in on Saturday and start grinding against them. So I mean,
do you guys think your playing style is becoming like Impact because you play them so much?
I think we got a pretty good style. I think we kind of have our own style, but I mean, they play a very methodical game.
Yeah, it's certainly not a bad thing to be more like Impact, but you guys got to work kind of with what you have. Impact can be like, oh, we need the best snake player. Let's just go get the best snake player. That's obviously, for sure, a difficult thing, and that's hard to compete with, right? Like, how is that? That's got to be, to me, maybe a little bit, if I was on that team, or DMG, maybe not demoralizing, but just like difficult, right? We're looking at these teams that have these big budgets, and you guys are like, well, we're just trying to make it work.
Man, like a lot of people hate on Impact for that reason. I don't know if it's jealousy or whatnot, but
a little bit.
I don't think anybody should be like that. That's a professional sports organization. Impact is doing it right, and that's how every team should be one day. I think a lot of people kind of look down on that. Oh man, they get skids of paint, you get to practice as many points as they want. That's how every team should be, and hopefully we get to a level of paintball where everyone around the board can afford to do that. But that's not where it's at right now, and that's okay. I mean, it's just a challenge. We don't shy away from challenges. We're gonna go ahead and try to attack that full force and take that on. I mean, if that's what we have to do, that's what we're gonna do. And I mean, that's just going to make winning sweeter, right?
You've played pro. This is your first year. We're about, well, I don't know, 3/5 of the way through, I guess. What's the best thing that's happened? Like, what's the most memorable team moment? Your most memorable moment? I don't know. What's cool? Something cool that happened.
Personally, my favorite moment was in Philadelphia, actually, the last tournament. Being new on a pro team, especially, you know, a team like DMG. DMG has a core of players that have been playing together for years. So coming new into that team, you gotta play really well to, you know, get those points in and make an impact. So, you know, Josh and Terry decided to give me a little more playtime in Philadelphia. And my favorite moment personally is we were playing against TMG Outlaws. Good team. They're, you know, they're similar to us. You know, they got a lot of good players on that team, great fundamentals, smart players. And we kind of are having, you know, a fist fight with them back and forth. The game ended up tied up with under a minute left. I think it was 56 seconds left. And in that situation, you know, you're gonna set up a game plan to try to win the break. If you win the break, you got to win the point. We were able to do that. We shot their snake one off break. Or not off break, but real soon. Shane Howe got out to the corner, shot him up the pipe, got him out of there. That was our main focus. Once we got that snake player out, we felt like we could move forward and win that point. So once we shot that snake player out, we were able to make moves up the center and up the Dorito side, dig those guys out of the, you know, the support bunkers, really. That tower and the can on the snake side were the two big ones for that layout. Those were hard. A lot of the times that tower would be shooting inside, locking that snake side out, and the can would be shooting that Dorito side, locking them out. And those guys are just dumping 13 pods a game. So in that situation, you know, we ended up, Josh Hallberg created a good game plan to come up to one of the bunkers that a lot of people weren't playing, is that center 50 can right there, and shoot out that tower behind the pin, get to that 50, try to dig those guys out in the center. We ended up pulling that off. We made it happen. We ended up scoring the point. Joe Barrett, blazing speed, came in, hit the buzzer with a few seconds left, and we ended up knocking them out of the tournament. Our chances were already done. We were already out of the tournament. We were just playing with our heart and pride and trying to make something happen, trying to go home on a good note, not a bad note.
It's always fun when you knock a team out, kind of. So obviously you play pro, so you have some sort of like ambition to do things cool or like advance. I don't know. What are your goals? What are the goals for the team and yourself for next year? We'll see.
My goal is to win a tournament. That's been the goal, man. I mean, I feel like you got to set your goals high. Winning a tournament is where it starts. You know, you win a tournament, get a couple wins under your belt, and then maybe go for a championship series. But DMG's still working on that first win. We made Sunday a couple times this year. You know, we're doing pretty well. So it's just breaking through that barrier of the top teams, man. Like we've been struggling with, you know, the teams that have been here for a while. I feel like we can go head to head with any of the teams that are, you know, newer. I feel like that could be, you know, go either way anytime. You know, a lot of the times we beat those teams. But it's just those top teams, the Russian Legions, the Dynasties, you know, the Impacts, you know, those superior, I don't know if I'd say superior, but the more experienced pro teams. Those are the guys that if you're beating those teams in the tournament, your chances are looking pretty good. That's what DMG's looking. We're looking to try to hold our core together now, keep practicing together. You know, me and George joined this team this year. They picked up Avenir last year. We're all local guys. That's one thing about Sacramento DMG is, you know, you got to live in this area and make it a practice on the weekend. We're trying to establish that core family that comes out here and grinds on the weekends and gets it done. So I feel like if we can do that and if we can keep practicing together, then yeah, we're gonna get to that level.
Yeah, I feel like that's important because these teams that win events and that are good are family. You know, like we look at Dynasty and like Impact, even though Impact is like, I don't know, one of these paid teams, you know, like they're still family. Like the people on that team are on that team because they fit on the team. They're not just a bunch of rando paid people, which we've seen before. That hasn't worked.
100%. Like, I mean, you look at those teams, and Impact's not just coming out and playing on, you know, layout weekends together. They go on trips together. You know, they build camaraderie off the field tighter than a lot of teams out there. You know, I know there's teams like Dynasty that they've been together forever. You know, they're similar. A lot of them live in the same area. X Factor, like that team's tighter than probably any team I've ever seen. You know, that team is a brotherhood. All respect to them.
Well, yeah, beating one of those top teams, it's always fun.
Oh yeah,
Dylan.
Definitely. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna
Appreciate
you want to follow Dylan on the internet? We'll like I don't know, put some stuff there or links below, or watch DMG. In a few weeks here. When's the next tournament?
We got Chicago coming up soon.
When is that? I don't even know when that is.
I gotta look at the day. I think we got 4 weeks or so coming up. 4 or 5 weeks of practice.
2019.
Yes, 2019.
Yep. We know that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys later.
All right. Just want to end the day with some drills. Keep those fundamentals sharp. Before we go, I want to thank Paintball Ruined My Life for this interview and opportunity. I also want to thank Dave Baines, Capital Edge Paintball Park, best facility in the country. Gives us everything we need. Playing Eclipse, GI, Virtue, weapons. Yeah, best sponsors in the game. We're fortunate. Thank you, guys.